Before 9/11, the deadliest mass killing on American soil occurred in the People's Temple Agricultural Project. Led by Jim Jones, the incident has become infamous for the horrific ways these people died and the shocking events that led up to it. Today we are going to look into the Jonestown Massacre. Born on May 13, 1931, Jim Jones was raised in the rural town of Lynn, Indiana. He did a lot of reading in his childhood, studying certain world leaders like Hitler and Stalin, in order to research the strengths and weaknesses of both. Others his age noticed how weird he was because of his interest in death and religion. Often he would hold funerals for small animals on his parents' property. Even weirder was the alleged fact of him killing cats. After his parents split, his mother had them move to Richmond, Indiana. There he would graduate from Richmond High School with honors. Eventually, he would move to Bloomington, Indiana with his wife, Marceline. After attending college, the two would move again to Indianapolis in 1951. Jim would attend a night school, Butler University, and got his degree in secular education in 1961. During this time, he would show up to gatherings of the Communist Party USA, and would get harassed for doing so. But he wanted to demonstrate his Marxism, and to do so, he would infiltrate the church. Jim was surprised when a Methodist district superintendent accepted him into the church. He would eventually become a student pastor and would observe a faith-healing service at the Seventh-day Baptist Church. He noticed how he would accomplish not just his social goals, but monetary goals of such services. Following a mammoth religious convention, he launched his own church, which went by many names, mainly known as the People's Temple, that allowed all ethnic groups to join his congregation. He would also help to racially integrate different places in Indianapolis, and was a huge supporter of equal rights. Something I didn't mention before was that Jim's dad was associated with the Ku Klux Klan, with the two arguing over the issue of race. This would of course lead to his two parents to divorce. During the remainder of the 50s, Jim and Marceline would adopt several non-white children, referring to his household as a rainbow family. He would also refer to the temple the same way. During the early 1960s, Jim and his family traveled to Brazil in order to find a new location for the temple. This is because of the many fears of nuclear holocaust. During his trip, he would also stop to Guyana, which was a British colony at the time. After returning, Jim suggested to the congregation that they should all move to Redwood Valley, California, to escape this supposed nuclear holocaust. During this time, he would begin to grow more insane. He would preach that he was a reincarnation of many well-known figures like Gandhi, Vladimir Lenin, Jesus, and Buddha. He also began to criticize King James' Bible to better promote Marxism. In the early 1970s, Jim would move to the People's Temple again to San Francisco, where he hosted local political figures for discussions. This is where his temple increased in media scrutiny. During the summer of 1977, Jim learned that reporter Marshall Kilduff was writing an expose, which alleged physical, emotional, and sexual abuse to members of the People's Temple. So, Jim and his followers decided to move to his compound in Guyana, which became Jonestown. For the last few years, he had been having it set up. He wanted to become a social paradise, stating that the temple comprised the purest communism there are. This was not the case. People living in this jungle barren place had 10-hour workdays, along with high temperatures. Food rations were limited, with the farms not being able to grow enough to eat. The soil of the compound was built on very poor. Evenings were filled with lectures given by Jim, trying to induce fear of defectors and society in general. On a rare instance, he would have movie night, which would show communist propaganda. These would also instill fear of society and the outside world. One of the few survivors recalled this. He would tell us that the United States, African Americans were being herded into concentration camps, that they were genocide on the streets, they were coming to kill and torture us because we had chosen that we called a socialist track. He said that they were on their way. And as you might expect, in a society like this, there was a punishment for those who didn't fully comply. Those who tried to escape were beaten and placed in coffin-sized prisons to spend the night. Jim also began to lose his sanity even more. His health was deteriorating, and he began taking lethal doses of pentobarbital and amphetamines. With this being the conditions of Jonestown, it was no surprise that Leo Ryan was coming to visit. On November 17, 1978, United States Congressman Leo Ryan landed in Jonestown to meet up with Jim Jones and to check the conditions of the compound. As you already know, the settlement was on the brink of disaster. Ryan and the 2 other representatives came to see how lean the conditions were. A couple of members asked if they could leave with the delegates, but to Leo this was no cause for concern. Jim was devastated by the visit, even with the reports turning out favorable, but it became clear to the delegates that something was being held against their will. The following day, on November 18th, Leo announced that he was willing to take anyone back with him if they wanted to return to the U.S., with only a few during taking the offer. Later on, as they tried to leave the airport, members of the temple popped up at them and began shooting. 5 were killed, including Leo, and the rest trying to leave were severely injured. Because of this, Jim had everyone in Jonestown meet up at the pavilion. In panic and seemingly agitated, he announced the attack of the group, and that Jonestown was now in danger. He forced all 900 members to drink fruit punch laced with poison, including children, babies, and pets. His armed guards stood watch as Jim gave a long speech to his dying citizens. It all ends with the death of Jones himself. Instead of taking poison, he decided to shoot himself in the head. No footage was taken of the event, but a full hour-long audio is available. It's linked in the description, but here are some of the most important parts.
I don't think this is what we want to do with our babies. I don't think that's what we had in mind to do with our babies. It was said by the greatest of prophets from time immemorial, no man takes my life from me, I lay my life down. So to sit here and wait for the catastrophe that's going to happen on that airplane, it's going to be a catastrophe. Almost happened here. Almost happened. The congressman was nearly killed here. But you can't steal people's children. You can't take off with people's children without expecting a violent reaction. And step over quietly, because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act. We can't go back. They won't leave us alone. They're now going back to tell more lies, which means more congressmen, and there's no way we can survive. If there's any way to call back the immense amount of damage that's going to be done, but I cannot separate myself from the pain of my people. And you can't either, Christine, if you stop to think about it. You can't separate yourself. We've walked too long together.
I know that, but I still think as an individual, I have a right to...
You do, and I'm listening.
What I think, what I feel, and I think we all have a right to our own destiny as individuals.
Right.
And I think I have a right to choose mine, and everybody else has a right to choose theirs.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. I'm not criticizing. I'm not doing it. Stay peace, stay peace, stay peace, stay peace. What's come? Don't let it. Just take Dwyer on down to the East House. Take Dwyer.
Everybody be quiet, please.
You've got some respect for our lives.
That means sit down, sit down, sit down.
I know. I tried so very, very hard. We're trying over here to see what can happen in Los Angeles. Who is it?
I just want to say something to everyone that I see that is standing around and crying. This is nothing to cry about. This is something we should all rejoice about. We should be happy about this. They always told us that we should cry when you're coming into this world. Well, when we're living and we're living it peaceful, I think we should be happy about this. I was just thinking about Jim Jones. He just has suffered and suffered and suffered. He is the only God, and he don't even have a chance to enjoy himself here.
No way I'm going to do it. I refuse. I don't know who fired the shot. I don't know who killed the congressman. But as far as I'm concerned, I killed him. You understand what I'm saying? I killed him. He had no business coming. I told him not to come.
And treachery, I think you people out here should think about how your relatives was and be glad about that the children are being laid to rest. And all I like to say is I thank Dad for making me strong to stand with it all and make me ready for it. Thank you.
I can do them. All they're doing is taking a drink to go to sleep. That's what death is, sleep. Of it. I'm tired of it all. Take our life from us. We laid it down. We got tired. We didn't commit suicide. We committed an act of revolutionary suicide protesting the conditions of an inhumane world.
Not too long after, the Guyanese government went to Jonestown to discover the bodies. All were requested to go back to the United States, but a few had survived the incident by escaping. Overall, this has to be one of the most horrific cults of all time. The bite model, created by Stephen Hassan, can be used to measure the control Jim had over his members. It stands for behavior, information, thought, and emotion control. Let's just say the cult scores very high on it. Cults, especially of this sort, can really be deadly towards someone's psyche and mind, being that it takes over everything you do.